Welcome back to another episode of the Red Pill Cartel, episode 154 now. And my guest today is none other than one of the beautiful co-hosts. Oh, did I say beautiful? The hairy,
Gay.
the hairy Bigfoot rug muncher,
Oh,
co-host of the Wicked Planet, Tristan Buckley. What's going on, man?
woo! What's up, bitch?
A little
Happy
bit of
birth,
this, a little bit of that.
happy birthday.
Oh, thanks, man.
How old
Appreciate
you?
it.
How old are you? 50?
Almost five
Yeah,
years more.
nice. You're so 45.
Yeah, climbing over that hill.
45 and still staying on top of it.
That's it. That's it. Tristan's drinking, what's it called again?
Uh, Seacoast Seltzer Paradise Punch. Yeah, I'm trying to stay away from beer a little bit because
It sounds a little gay, but
oh, it's
I got the
super
beer
gay.
going.
It's super gay. It's called Paradise Punch.
What about, do you like White Claw?
Only on the weekends. No,
So yeah, man.
I've dabbled with a couple White Claws before,
Yeah, they're okay.
during Pride Month. You have to drink the White Claws.
Of course, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the feature, that and Bud Light.
Yep. White Claw's gonna get
Preferably,
a she like an actual she-male with a dick waving his dick around and on the commercials, right? That's what's next in our uh deviant society, I think. It's just
so
getting closer and closer to that.
yeah, so during Pride Month, you have to take a White Claw and a Bud Light, dump them in the same cup, then stir it up with a giant dildo, and then drink it, and then you're golden.
Exactly, yeah. So, Buckley,
Yeah.
for my audience that may or may not know who you are, tell us what you do. Not your actual day job, but your online persona kind of thing.
My online persona. I've never
Yeah.
I've never thought of it that way. Are you smoking butts?
Yeah, for sure.
Woo! I didn't know it was that kind of podcast.
Hmm.
I guess I co-host on the Wicked Planet podcast with Ron and Kristen, who's been showing up lately. And
A lot more lately, yeah.
yeah, I've been kind of on a little hiatus myself, taking the last couple weeks off. Just been super busy trying to do a bunch of stuff. But yeah, co-host of that, we just kind of talk about anything that we want to talk about. We like to talk about, stuff your podcast gets into, the conspiracy side of things, but
Sure.
also we like to go the other route too and just talk about anything because I feel like just pigeonholing yourself into like one topic or genre is kind of,
Yeah,
it doesn't get you a lot to play with. You get kind of
for
stuck in the
sure, yeah.
same loophole.
I mean, conspiracies nowadays, like there's always something to talk about, but I kind of get tired of it because it's just like it's like all doom and gloom, I think, a lot of it's like, oh, we're gonna be rounded up in fucking concentration camps and shit like that. And if you don't partake in what's coming, and it's like, oh, okay, well, whatever, kill the body, but the spirit won't die.
Right. Yeah, there is that side of it, which is kind of like I think what do they call it? The black pill, this black pill stuff. It's like the
Sure.
doom and gloom, but I don't know. It's been the conspiracy side of things has gotten kind of mainstream. Do you know what I
It
mean?
has, yeah.
And I think it was all of a sudden out of just kind of like during COVID, obviously, for good reason too, because there was a lot of shit and lies and craziness going on. So I think it makes sense that that kind of became more mainstream. But I like to think like, I think about this a lot, like how much of the conspiracy side of things is being infiltrated by like propaganda and like, sort of um the individualized media presence that we're seeing like a big boom in now. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and how much of the conspiracy side is taking that kind of like pumping disinformation or propaganda into that genre as to like dilute it even more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And
And
so it gets a little, I don't know. For me, it gets a little sketchy because it's like, well, there's a lot of true. Well, that's the classic psyop that we talk about all the time. It's like there's a lot of truth in a lot of this stuff, but then there's also a lot of bullshit. And it does two things. One, it gets the truth out there, but also two, it makes the people latch on to like craziness. Do you know what I mean? In a sense,
like the normies or the conspiracy theorists.
both. I guess
Both. Yeah.
well, think about it. Say like there's some crazy conspiracy theory with like well, I mean QAnon, I think the QAnon stuff was a good example of that kind of psyopy stuff
Oh,
where
for sure, dude. Yeah.
because that was like a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth to like the human trafficking and like the elites and stuff, but then there's also like, a bunch of crazy stuff like the JFK guy being alive.
Right,
You
right.
know, that
There's still people that say that.
right. So I think
It's
it's kind of
just, whew,
yeah, it's
might as well just say Elvis is still alive at this point.
right. Well, some people think that.
Yeah.
That's an actual true conspiracy theory. Well,
He
not
could
true.
be over the ice wall with this crazy technology that they have, like the med beds, and he could be, he could have put his consciousness into a younger body already,
Right, yeah, there's some people that there's a conspiracy theory. I said true, but obviously I don't know if it's fucking true. I don't even believe it's probably true, but there's the conspiracy theory that Elvis is still alive and that he never actually died and that he's actually in a mental institution somewhere. But do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like there's a lot of the conspiracy side of things, like the whole COVID bullshit, like the vaccines and lockdowns and like all of that. There's a lot of truth in those conspiracy theories, but then there's like more of the far fetched ones where it's like Elvis is still alive or maybe reptilians. I don't know. I don't really believe in reptilians. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But like just
Could be a metaphor for the reptilian side of the brain, like the left side,
right.
the left hand path, right?
Right. Yeah. So there's just like a lot of uh what well, how do you decide on what to believe, I guess, right? That's like the big thing right now. And yeah,
My thing though is I don't believe any of it, but I do believe it at
right.
the same time. That's my way of going about things. Like people always ask me, "Oh, do you actually believe that shit?" And I'm like, I think it's possible, but I don't believe it. Believe it. I don't take it as like dogma or anything. So it just is what it is. Like I'm able to entertain these ideas, but also being able to take like 10 steps back and be like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You know. If you want to call me crazy for even having an open mind, then that's on you, brother.
Yeah. No, so I think that's a good I think that's a good way to look at it because that's kind of how I think about things too. It's like kind of believe in nothing and everything at the same time. And then obviously like you'll believe more things than other things, right? Over
Sure.
time. Like it's like the whole like aliens or Bigfoot or cryptids or craziness like that. It's like, yeah, kind of believe in it, but also don't like, you know, don't go 100% in because in reality, you don't really know like
Right.
most of this shit. And that's a big
But
side of like, oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say like those videos remember that video that was going around a while back, maybe like 6 months ago, where there's like this massive giant and he was talking to somebody at a desk, and
Oh,
it's like,
yeah,
and people are like, "Look, there's actual giant," and I'm like, "You don't think that guy looks CG at all?
right.
Like,
Yeah,
come on, man. I mean, it's possible. Like I said, like it could be, but especially with AI getting so fucking crazy now, like
yeah,
within this short span of like less than a year, you can do anything with that shit, and people will just be like, "Oh, that looks so," or like, "That's real. It's real. It's real." It's like, dude, it's probably just fucking AI, like faking gay, right?
yeah. Fake and gay. But like, yeah, people kind of forget that all this most of the information that we're taking in, where are we getting it? We're getting it on our phones, or getting it on our internet, on the
We're
internet,
not
something like
seeing
that.
it in front of our fucking face.
Right, and like where's
Like
that
I look at my window right now on the 19th floor, and I don't see any fucking giants walking around.
right, where does your phone come from? Some corporation. Who owns
China.
corporations? Yeah, who owns corporations, right?
Yeah.
the elites or whatever, whoever you want to say they are, but it's like, okay, so you're going to believe all this stuff that's being pumped into your phone that was given to you by an elite corporation.
Right.
All right, well, are you actually seeing this stuff in real life? If you put your phone down, does it actually matter in your own personal life, like what you're
Hmm.
doing today? Like in your daily life, right? You do this, you do that, and then it's like, well, do giants actually really matter? Does this new news thing that just came out 4 hours ago, big
Hmm.
breaking news story, does that actually matter in your life? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I think getting back to like the conspiracy disinformation, kind of psyopy side of things, and how I do think that, the conspiracy genre is being infiltrated with that. Um, I think that, Matt T talked about this a while ago. I think he
Shout
did
out.
Great Deception podcast. He played this clip of a guy talking about psychological subversion tactics that like Marxist communists use, and essentially it's like a 20-year long kind of process of like demoralizing a country and then flooding it with disinformation. No one knows what to believe to destabilize the country, right? And then once the country is destabilized through demoralization and disinformation, then they offer like a solution essentially, and
Right.
that's kind of how they take over a country, I guess. Um,
It's like,
and
okay, okay, Chinaman, you can control my life now because I don't want the giants coming after me, you know?
right, right, or yeah, or just, but even just like the whether it's giants or whether it's aliens. I mean, look at the UFO thing happening right now, right?
Right.
It's like a huge. All of a sudden, it was just like mainstream media. It's everywhere. They're saying they're real. They're saying this and that. And so it's like, well, why are they all of a sudden now saying that? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the reasoning for that? Well, maybe it's so you don't know what to believe. Maybe it's to pull a psyop. Maybe it's to, program you towards, something else. But like, um, that destabilization of that's caused by information is like the perfect setup for like a new world order. Do you know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah, for
once
sure, dude.
Yeah, and that's like, that goes back to that whole basic like problem reaction solution, right? That we hear about all the time. It's essential,
Order out of chaos.
right? Chaos control,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. So, it's to me, it's crazy how much of like the online presence of, I guess people like to call it the matrix, I guess, and how big, that the whole media, social media, the TikTok, the Facebook, the news, like how big of a part or role that plays in people's everyday life. It's insane because it's just like, well, we don't know if how much of that is true or fake. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
Right.
The thing is though, for me, like I'd say about 10, 15 years ago even, let's go back 10 years. I would be talking about shit like this and people would think I was nuts. And now I can have a full on discussion with like a 20-year-old that I work with and they know
Yeah.
exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm like, holy shit, dude. Like, I never thought this would see the light of day, honestly, where I could have a discussion like that with somebody, especially younger than me, but these kids now are totally aware because of the phone, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
the
But
spreading of TikTok videos, all the shit. Like these kids at work send me fucking like 30 videos every day. And I'm like, okay, I know, you know?
yeah, it's like a flood of information, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. I just think you gotta like, where's the other shoe? Do you know? You know what I
Right.
mean? You're waiting for the other shoe to drop, type of thing. It's like, yeah, it's good that everything's it's good that people are being made aware and waking up to shit, but it's also like, well, why? Why all of a sudden? Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Hmm.
Especially when with the whole Israel Palestine Iran thing kicking off, it's like it's kind of scary what's going on, but at the same time, it's like does it really affect my life? Should I be fearful of this shit or no? And then there's the other side of the coin, which where the Bible says God did not give you a spirit of fear, but of love and a sound mind, right? So
Mm.
why should I fear any of the shit that's going on? But then
Yeah, and I
again, there's
mean,
the whole thing about the Bible. Is that true or is that false? Right?
right.
Like,
Well, that's the other thing too. It's like the war in Ukraine and the conflict with Israel and conflict between Palestine and Israel. It's like, well, again, how much of that is just propaganda? How much of it is
sure.
actually true? And I do, so that's why I'm kind of getting for myself. It's like more of focusing on just like your everyday life because you can worry about all that shit you're seeing on your phone,
coming
but it's like,
coming back full circle like the Ouroboros, right? It's like you
right,
you grow up, you realize, oh, everything's a lie, and then you get all fucking crazy, and then you go back to full circle to where it's like I should just be living my life because this shit's fucked up.
right, and
Because
you
if
don't
you
know.
trap yourself in that fucking fear bubble, watching all these videos all the time, it's not going to do you any good. It's gonna wake you up to the fact that yeah, I should just be living my life and having a family and not doing what these deviants are doing out there. And yeah, I think that's what it's all about, really.
Yeah, and I think that the thing you said about the Bible, and like the the whole not having fear type of mentality, or what'd you say?
The quote was, "God did not give us a spirit of fear, but love and a sound mind."
Right. No, I think that's like really important because I don't necessarily think it's like I'm not really a super religious man or person. I do think there's like, I don't know, some sort of life for force or inner working or possibly higher power. I don't know what that is, but I do think that this whole idea of fear is like it's a driving motive of all the information that's you're being given to by the matrix. And it does make you fearful. It does put that kind of like fear into your soul, but also it's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do with that? Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, what are you gonna do with that fear? Are you gonna are you gonna let it subdue you as a human
Right,
being?
right.
Are you gonna let it suppress your thoughts or like uh you know think or your knowing of morality or knowing what's truthful or true or what's right or what you think is right? Um, or are you gonna like just kind of lay down, and take it or like be
Yeah,
afraid? Like,
just like being like an agoraphobic where you're scared to go outside even, right?
right.
Like
Yeah.
I
So
know
and
I
it,
know I know Christians that are like they are so freaked out about everything that's going on. And it's like, why? And then they want to like they basically want to commit suicide because they're waiting for the rapture to rescue them. It's like, dude, do you not think that God gave you the life here for a purpose and for a reason, and you have work to do here still? You just want to be sucked up into the clouds. Like
yeah,
I don't get that, you know. I mean, I do get it because they're so full of fear and they're
right.
tired of what's going on in this world, but you can't let that get to you. You have to have this mindset, a positive mindset where you do something greater, but also you got to be in here in this world doing other shit too, like normal shit, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I think it's like I said, it's fine to be fearful and it's fine to be afraid, but you can't let that ultimately get you. And it's like if what you're afraid of dying, I guess. Like I get it, like death is the unknown, right? Everyone's kind of a bit afraid of it, but also too, like you're gonna die eventually, right? No matter what. No matter what you do in this life, as far as
It's the
unless
it's the one thing every human has in common. Like
right,
the good old Jim Morrison said, no one here gets out alive. You
right.
know?
So it's kind of this weird thing of like, if you're gonna equate fearful and just giving in to everything and succumbing to the fear because maybe you're afraid that like you'll end up dying somehow from like an authoritative government or wild order or some abuse of power. It's like, well, okay, but you're gonna die anyway. So
Right.
would you rather stand up for what's right, or would you rather, just live a life of fear and then create an environment in a future by doing nothing that then your children possibly have to live in or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I
I
and I
often
think
think
a
I
big part of
often
that
think of
too.
that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you should. No, yeah, you should think of it because I know it's like, people are always like, "Oh, well, whatever, fuck it. I don't really care. I'm just gonna live my life, right? I'm gonna be dead, right? If the New World Order takes over, or we all like succumb to Marxist communists, right? Well, we'll all be dead in probably 40 years, but like your kids are gonna be alive, probably,
Sure.
and their kids are gonna be alive. So it's kind of like, you kind of have to you put or try to push back in some regards. And I think like,
Absolutely, yeah. Pushing back is the key. Like right now in the present, that's what we're all doing as podcasters in this kind of genre, right? We're trying
yeah,
to push back, trying to get truth out there, trying to die on that hill where it's like, no, I will not comply with your fucking bullshit. Like even the whole COVID thing, man. I had coworkers they were like, so what would it take for you to get that shot? And I said, a gun to the head, and I still wouldn't do it. And they said, really? You're really that against it? I said, yeah. And they're like,
yeah,
wow. And I'm like, dude, I know, like me and two other coworkers at the time, we could smell the bullshit. Our intuition knew right away that there was something wrong with this whole facade. And then we realized it was a facade. And then we stood there and we're like, no, I'm not getting a shot just so I can fucking travel. I'm gonna wait it out, you
mm,
know? And even still, now I could go travel if I wanted to, and I never took one, right?
right, yeah. And that's the thing. It's a big fear campaign, right?
Mm-hmm.
They make it seem like it's mandatory, and then by it being it seem like it's mandatory, then when you decide to take the vaccine out of fear, then you're getting your own consent basically through
Exactly.
your own choice. Right? And then so by that terms, it's like not technically mandatory, but they can still say it's mandatory, right? Just to coax you into being full and then deciding to take it. Um,
But even
yeah,
even
I think
being mandatory is still, it doesn't mean it's the law. It's just like
right,
it's not like against the law if you don't take it, but people take it that way
right,
because of the wordplay, mandatory. Oh, then I better get it.
right. It's the black magic voodoo fucking spell casting, you
Exactly.
know, yeah, side of things. But going back to sort of like the disinformation too, it's like, you know, I get why people are like so heavily brainwashed and like
Sure.
I guess you would call them the woke, the liberals or whatever, or even like these boomers that are just like horrendously have no idea about anything that's going on. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can sit there and be like, oh, they're fucking boomers or fucking libtards or all of that. All you want, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. But there's the other side, it's like there's so much working against all these people that are like this to mislead, lie to them, manipulate them, put them in fear. That it's
Absolutely. Yeah.
like to
And that's
me,
why
it's like
I don't have that mindset where like, look at these fucking retards. Like I don't have any hate towards them because I know if I was in their shoes, I'd probably be doing the same thing, but I've done my research. I've done all kinds of digging and stuff like that to kind of prevent me from going that way.
yeah.
So I
But
don't
and
hold
and
that
then
against them, but there's a lot of hatred towards them. And I
right.
don't vibe with that shit.
Right. I mean, it's definitely fun to like, make fun of them and
Well,
shit.
that's different, yeah. Because I'm a
Like,
joker, you're a joker.
but
That's why I
like,
love listening to you guys, right?
right. but ultimately it's kind of just like, oh shit, like the matrix, quote unquote, or the this reality that's sort of given to us through our social media, pop culture, news and stuff like that. It's so manipulative in brainwashing and programming, and that it's like it's super difficult to break out of that. And for a while I sort of was like that too. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Uh, I wasn't as deep in because I always kind of had, problems with authority or just like the government or believing the government or, I just knew something wrong in the world when you look at like just like college student loan debt and stuff in America anyway, and just like how America works. It could be, probably similar in Canada. You probably notice and observe things that were just going on in your daily environment in the world and stuff. You're like, why is stuff so fucked up? So I always had like a kind of a voice in the back of my head, like, this isn't how things should be, blah blah blah.
Right.
To
Right.
the point
Like
where it's
like why is Justin Trudeau putting tampons in the men's bathroom in the military?
like, oh my god, right, yeah.
Like what the fuck? And now we got Tiana, who's come on your show a few times and my show as well. She calls him Captain Tampon now, and I think that's the best fucking name for him.
Yeah, she's wicked cool. Diana.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, but so it's like, I don't know, for me, it took COVID basically to like kind of really snap me out of like any mainstream thought process, I guess, and just kind
Yeah.
of like, and just kind of
Like
seeing like
we
there's
reached
a bunch of
another level
bullshit.
after that shit.
Right, yeah, and there
Yeah.
was that, and then also to say what you will about psychedelics. But that kind of made me have a couple of, I get not I don't know if it's I guess realizations about just the way the world works and things and like money and
Like little
politics.
epiphanies.
Yeah, I was gonna say epiphanies, but I didn't know if that was the right word because I don't know, I'm mildly retarded. But
We all know that.
yeah, but like, just seeing politicians and money, and money's kind of fake, and like the Federal Reserve and taxes, it's all kind of just like, it's kind of just an enslavement system that's created by these elites, like debt. It's just an enslavement system. And it's like
Yeah.
when you get down to like the bases of of just like your daily life in reality, it's like most of the stuff we do on a daily basis has been created and given to us by fucking elites in this system. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I always call them the masters of reality because they created this reality that we're stuck in, right?
Right.
And it's up to us to kind of break free from that reality and create a new one. That's what I think anyway. I think the way that you and I talk, I think we're creating a different reality. And other podcasters in the game too, we're all going against this whole reality thing. And people would call us nuts because they're like, dude, you're so not in reality. And it's like, I'm in a different reality. I'm sorry. Because I've learned that this shit is fucking bullshit.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But that's like, and that's the thing. It's hard, like I was saying before, it's hard to get to that point of like realizing that like most of the shit that you've been taught or brought up in your entire life is just a bunch of bullshit. And in reality, like the way that things are said to actually work, that's not how they work at all. So
Right.
even once you hit that point and that kind of realization, now you're kind of like like you said, you're breaking into a new reality, uh perceptually, and I guess physically too. Things are kind of changing, but there's that whole kind of, shifting space or period that you're in where you're like your mind is fighting your old programming and your old way of thinking about things. And that's even that alone could be it's super difficult to navigate, especially if you're kind of like on your own and thinking about this stuff because like most of like you said, most of the people most of the people I see on a daily basis, if I said any of the stuff that I talk to you about, or like Ron or anyone else, they're gonna be like, "Fuck you! What are you talking? Like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about? Like, are you? Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Like,
Which is a very strong term. I think you guys were talking about that. I think maybe you said it like theorist is a very strong term to negatively uh, disassociate us from the rest of society. It's like an
yeah,
ostracization term.
yeah. I think it's sort of like well, obviously we all know how that term came around, right?
CIA, yeah.
Right,
After
which is
Kennedy.
yeah, so it's kind of a way to just slap a label on,
If you
people.
question what we showed you on the media when JFK was assassinated, you are a conspiracy theorist.
Right,
And
so it's
that's
like
now 70 years fucking later, we're still being called conspiracy theorists.
right, and I think, like, that's part of the whole divisive, like, division, side of things. It's the same, like it's the same terminology as being labeled like a libtard or, like,
Sure.
woke or, like, a far right, you know, conservative extremist, it's those same kinda labels. It's like,
Hmm.
so if you are just even a little bit, like, conservative, right? And you're just like, "Well, I don't really like Donald Trump, but I do like this one thing he did possibly," right? Like a bill he passed or, like, one of your, like a Canadian politician or something, right? And they're more on the conservative side. And then automatically someone who's kind of on the opposite side of that will be like, "Oh, he likes something Donald Trump did.
Right.
He's a far right conspiracy or he
Automatic label
right, far right extremist." And then basically so anything you say after that
is
falls
null and void.
right,
Yeah.
and because it falls under that terminology and you're just like, "Well, no, I'm not like 100% like a Trump, like,
Too
diehard."
bad.
Like, yeah, exactly. Too fucking bad. It's the same way on the other side. Like, I guarantee you there's a shit ton of, like, gay people and lesbians and shit and bisexual people who probably hate all the trans shit that's happening right now, that's, like, going
Yeah.
on. I
Oh,
know a
there
cou
are. There are.
yeah,
Totally.
and I
Yeah.
know I know some of those people, and,
Me
like,
too. Yeah.
right, and because they're gay or lesbian or whatever, then they kind of fall under that. So automatically people just assume certain things, right? It's kind of that whole divisional side of like the propaganda, the matrix, the deceptiveness, but
Like what we were
and
talking about the conservatism. It's like, oh, one thing Trump did automatically labels you. It's like, oh, this guy's gay. He's one of the alphabet people. Don't listen
right,
to anything they have to say.
right,
Bullshit. It gives people reason to like not hear people's voice, man, and it's fucking sad.
right. But that's kind of how the programming works. That's how the game works. You know what I mean? It's like you automatically, I guess I'll use like a snowflakey term, you automatically hear like a trigger word, right? And then your default programming starts to take over. Do you know what I mean? You know how like there's
Yes.
default programs on a computer
Yeah.
or something like that? So you hear a one word and then you automatically fall into, this line of your programming that disassociates you from anything else this person's saying as a human being because the programming is so good. And that's why I think like no matter the most could be the most programmed person. It's like you still kind of have to give them somewhat of a break. Do you know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah.
Because as much as as much as they're probably different than you are, or they're like on the opposite side of things, they're still victim of the same, programming elitist suppression that you are, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They just came out on like a different experience or side of it. So it's kind of like and that's the other thing too. As much as you and I sit here and we say like, "Oh, we're awake. We know all this shit," right? Like,
Right.
oh, we have all this information that like we're kind of on the outskirts of shit. Like we're still probably getting programmed somehow. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely we are, man.
We
Like,
don't
and
even know.
that's why I always go back to that Kansas song, Carry On My Wayward Son, where he says, if I claim to be a wise man, it surely means I don't know.
Right.
You know, like I don't know shit. I might have knowledge, but it doesn't mean that I fucking know everything. Like people come up to me all the time at work and they're like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Because they know I have a podcast and talk about this shit. And
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I don't have all the answers, man, but I can give you kind of what I know, but it might not mean that I'm right, you know?
Yeah.
But the main thing is that we're fucking questioning everything, right? So
Right.
like people ask me all the time, are you Christian? And I'm like, I don't like labels, man. That's my thing. I don't like labels. I don't want to be called a Christian. I don't want to be called a Muslim. People I had someone on this podcast that tells me you're a Muslim and you don't even know it. I'm like, okay, well, I might be a Christian and I don't even know it. But
Yeah.
the fact remains is that I'm non sequitur. I don't follow anything really. I try not to, right? So like I just try to do my best to think for myself. And then that's that. I don't want a label. I don't want to be called a Christian. I don't want to be called a Muslim. I don't want to be called a Jew or a Hebrew or whatever. Like fuck, man. Like because that means you have to start. Once you put a label on yourself, people are going to watch you and see if you behave in the manner that you're supposed to be behaving because of that label that you're given.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
And that's kind of like the whole that's exactly what I was kind of talking about too. You know what I mean? You believe X, Y, and Z, or you say X, Y, and Z, then you are A or B or C. Do you know? Depending on what you're saying.
Right.
And but that's just the whole programming system. It's super, the indoctrination system.
There's so many levels to it, man.
Yeah,
Like, and that's what makes me feel like you were talking about programming and the levels of programming, and that makes me go back to like simulation theory. Like, are we a computer system inhabited in a flesh bag? You know,
yeah,
and is the creator a guy sitting at a computer looking at all the things, everybody, each individual program, which is us, and controlling things and like I don't know, possibly, you know,
yeah,
like I love the movie Tron ever since I was a kid. I love the movie Tron, and the Tron is the main story is that there's a computer simulation, and this one guy who's a human outside of the simulation hacks into the server and gets sucked in through a laser into the simulation. And now everybody looks at him as the hero because no, there's no user has ever been inside of here, you know?
right,
And that's like the whole Jesus story, right? It's like Jesus came down, he started hacking shit and started healing people with putting mud in people's eyes and shit. So he was like Jeff Flynn in Tron, where, you know, he's outside of this material realm, but he comes in here and starts manipulating it, manipulating the code, and starts healing people and doing all sorts of miracles and shit. It's so
yeah,
fucking crazy to me, man.
yeah. So that simulation theory is like, it's super interesting. Um, so when I think about simulation theory, do you know what a matricy is?
A matrixy?
Matricy. I believe that's what it's called, but it's essentially like it's a matrix within a matrix.
Okay.
So
And
if
did
we
you know
think
that the word matrix means womb?
really, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's the actual word. The actual
Oh,
word matrix means womb, essentially.
yeah, so I think matricy means an organism within another organism.
Okay.
Essentially, I believe. Not 100%, but
Which
like
makes sense with matrix being womb because you're an organism that's being born through another organism.
right, but like when I'm talking about like a matricy, it's like we have that the shit that we were just talking about, right? With the whole matrix of like social media and reality deception and like pop culture and blah blah blah, right? That's like a matrix kind of, and
Hold up,
culture and
you
environment that's
froze up. You
created.
froze up. Can you go back a bit?
Yeah, yeah. Am
You
I
froze up
good?
a bit. Yeah, you're good now.
I'm good. All right. So I was gonna say the whole matrixy thing. It's like there's the matrix that we talk about. That's like the social media, the news, pop culture, the environment, the money system,
All the
the
programming.
corporations, politicians, schools, blah blah blah, medical system. That's all like a matrix that's given to us. And then we have this idea of like simulation theory, right? Which is now possibly created actual reality, like physical reality, that is being manipulated or created by possibly like a higher power or beings. So now we have a matrix, right? That is that all that indoctrination, programming, pop culture inside of the simulation theory, which is another matrix essentially that is created by someone else. So now we have a
Right.
matrix, a matrix within a matrix, possibly.
So it's
But
like plural form of matrix.
right, so we have the
Right.
matrix. So we have the simulation theory matrix, which is like created the reality, the physical world that we see, kind of that we go through, like when we look at the sky or the trees. And then within that matrix, we have the other matrix of the indoctrination, programming, all that stuff. So that's kind of like what a matrixy is. But no, the simulation theory. What do you think about that? Do you think like do you think it is? Do you think there's a possibility? Do you not really give a shit?
For one, I my main answer is I don't really give a shit, but I love to think about it.
Right.
I like to entertain the idea, just like I do with all theories, right? Um, like theories like the mainstream theories such as evolution and theory of gravity and shit, I already think that's all bullshit. So I don't give a shit about that. But simulation theory, which is not really mainstream, I like it because I always go back to the Bible, mainly because I believe all holy books have truth in them. And I think that once you state that your book that you firmly believe in is the truth and the only truth, that's how wars are started. So I kind of just don't go there, right?
Yeah.
But I do like to look at all of these things and say all of these books have a good message. But I always go back to the Bible personally because I had experiences with it, and it it's an easier message to interpret for me because I don't speak Hindu or Jew or Hebrew or all that shit, right? So, but that being said, I like the fact that I feel Jesus or Yahushua or Yahshua or whatever you want to call him, I feel like he's the ultimate superhero in a sense where, just like in Tron, Jeff Flynn came down. Let's call Jeff Flynn Jesus. He comes back into the simulation and shows people how to fight back against this tyrannical society that we're living in, right?
Kind of
So to
like
me,
Morpheus.
yeah, to me, Jesus is the ultimate superhero, and I
Yeah.
praise him for that. I don't worship him because I feel that's idolatry, which the Bible says is you're not supposed to do that, right? But a lot of people worship this icon of Jesus. I
Yeah.
believe more in the fact that we are supposed to be like him, which means we are supposed to be a superhero as much as we can be, and that says that we're supposed to step outside of ourselves in order to help other people do things that you don't really want to do in
Yeah.
order to be a better person, you know? Like, and there's things that happen where it's like, I'll falter because I really don't want to fucking do this. I really don't want to do this. But once you actually do it, you feel so much better about yourself
Mm.
because you stepped outside of your own personal bubble and actually went out of your way to help people. Sometimes I'm really like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do this, right? But sometimes it's like, fuck, I really don't want to do this. and then you muster up the courage and you're like, okay, I'm doing it. And once you do it, you have like a nice sense of positivity that you actually did it, even though you didn't want to. And I think that's what Jesus was all about, honestly. What are your thoughts on that?
Can you give me an example of like what, like doing something you don't want to do?
Like, if there's somebody that you don't really like,
Ah,
you
okay.
know, but you go out of your way to kind of help them out when they're in need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I really don't want to do this for this person because they're kind of a piece of shit. But you know what? I'm going to do it anyway, you know?
Yeah. No, I get
And
what you're
it's
saying.
appreciated. Most times it's appreciated, but a lot of the times it's just like they take you for granted because you're always doing shit for them when they can't do it for themselves. And it's like
Right.
you just want to push that person to do something for themselves instead of relying on you, right? But at the same time, it's like, okay, I helped this person out today. I feel better, you know?
No, I think I've never studied the Bible or Jesus really, but I've learned some stuff about that, all
I'm
of
sure
that.
you have learned a lot through Wicked Planet, doing what you do on Wicked Planet, like with Anonymous Sean and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, and I think that,
I really like Anonymous Sean. I asked Ron if I could get him on one time, and he's like, I see what I can do, and it never happened. But
yeah,
uh,
Anonymous Sean's, he's just a mysterious character, you know. He doesn't really
please,
insert himself
please
in.
tell me he's a ginger. I picture him as a ginger.
I won't say anything. I'll let you keep
Ah,
your
damn.
I'll let you keep your thoughts alive.
All
But
right.
so I guess I think it's good to try to emulate people that are trying to help society, or better society, or just better people that are in need, and help broken people for sure. That's definitely a good thing. And I used to work with like criminals and behavioral people, or clients with
You were,
behaviors.
yeah, you were a probation officer.
No, I was so I was a lot of different things. I was a I was a direct support, I was a program counselor, a behavior tech, and a case manager. And a lot of the clients I worked with were, um, had extensive criminal backgrounds, had done time, had done some pretty crazy crimes. So
Sure.
a lot of gross crimes too. Like I worked with a lot of sex offenders.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I remember that you saying that.
yeah, and so I 100% understand doing things, for
Yeah.
people that are like, you know,
They're not deserving.
yeah, or
Yeah.
it's just like
You feel like they don't deserve it.
like you learn about the shit they've done, right? Which is stuff I won't even talk about because it's just like disgusting and heinous.
Sure.
But you learn about that stuff they do, and then you're supposed to like help this person. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, a lot of them have served their time in jail and this and that, but still it's like they're just real dirt bags, like scum of the earth. So I do get that. The other weird side of that too is like working with people like that, you you unveil like the human qualities of these people.
Sure.
So
Like there's good and bad in everybody.
right,
And some of these people did let their bad side take over at one point, but hopefully they get rehabilitated and become a better person because of it, right?
right, and a lot
But
of the
that's
stuff.
not always the case though. Like
Well,
I don't feel jail time is gonna make somebody better. Honestly, I think it takes a little bit more than that.
right. So this was all like post jail essentially. So it was, they consider it like aftercare. Like a lot of the people had done time, but then they were still in need of like supervision or therapy, or like,
Mhm.
to kind of just monitor them to make sure they're not like reoffending or doing more crazy shit or gross shit or whatever. So no, I do get that kind of doing stuff for people you don't really want to do things for. Um,
But just
And
people you don't even know in general. It's like all like for example, at my job, I help out customers, right? And I do
right.
it gladly because I don't know them. I don't know if they're a piece of shit, but I do it gladly because I'm like, yeah, I'll give you a hand.
Right.
But when it's
Well, I
people
think
that you really don't want to do it for because you know about their background, it's like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. You get reluctant, right?
yeah, well, I don't think there's anything bad about, helping people besides the fact that like, are you overexerting yourself? Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Are you doing it in a way that's like making you more stressed or feeling like, pressure or like
Sure,
you're
sure.
you're stretching yourself too thin, or are people taking advantage of you too
Mm-hmm.
because they know that you're gonna like help them out or you're willing to help people out. You'll find that people will just try to seek you out because they know.
Because they know that you help people.
Right, so they'll kinda,
Yeah.
like, use that to their advantage, so, it's not bad to help people, but you also, like, as
You
crazy
got to,
as
we
it
need
sounds.
discernment for sure.
Right, but as crazy as it sounds, it's like you kinda have to look out for yourself, number 1, because if you don't, then you will get taken advantage of. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be, like, a manipulative sociopath, like, just out for yourself kinda person, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's not what that means. It just means like you have to like say you help this person out a couple of times, right? And then they keep coming back. You eventually, if it's getting to be too much, you got to be like, look, I'm really busy, or like I can't tonight. You
Sure.
gotta set those boundaries because
I
people
think
will.
I think in those cases it's okay to lie.
Oh, really?
Where the
Did
Bible
did
says you
Jesus
shouldn't
lie?
lie, right?
Did Jesus
But
lie?
see, that's the thing, right? It's like,
Well, he did
how
say he
did
could walk
Jesus
on
do it?
water. So,
How did Jesus do it without lying?
well,
Like,
he said he could walk on water, right?
well, he didn't say that he did. He did.
You don't think that's a lie?
I don't know, man. Anything's possible, right?
He turned water into wine? That seems a little far-fetched, Davy Wave.
Also, feeding like one piece of bread to like, I don't know how many people it was, or fish or
Right.
whatever. I don't know, man. Like, fuck. I think all that. I think a lot of that is astrological. Like, if you look at Micah Dank's presentations with uh, astrology, what does he call it? Fuck, I don't remember what he calls it, but he has presentations and he talks about how all of these things in the Bible that were like so unbelievable were all just stories written in the stars, which is kind of cool, I think.
Hmm.
Which
Yeah.
means, a lot of the Bible is uh astrological, but there's a lot of truth in there as well. And there's like seven different sciences in the Bible and his one science that he concentrates on or focuses on is astrological. So astrology is one of the sciences out of the seven, and it's fucking accurate as hell.
Yeah. I don't know. I think as long as you're kind of looking out for yourself, right? And maintaining good with people, helping people out is fine, but you also got to look out yourself, and people will try to 100% take advantage of that.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Just be wary. I mean,
I liked how this conversation has been flowing so far. I also wanted to ask you this. One of the main things I wanted to ask you tonight is about your paranormal experiences in your house.
oh shit.
Yeah,
Which
dude,
bit?
because your brother is a ghost hunter, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So my
Yeah.
brother Kellen, he lives in Austin, Texas, uh, and he does all sorts of paranormal research. Um,
Keep talking. We're gonna grab another beer while we're talking.
yeah, and he does. It's called Lone Star Paranormal Research. Essentially, goes to like old jails for the criminal insane, like different mansions where people have died, different things like that. And he basically just films, looks for evidence, and uh, he catches orbs. He caught a shadow person one time, which actually he went on a TV show where they featured that like clip of this shadow person he caught. I don't know if you've ever heard of Fright Club.
I don't think so.
I Yeah, it's on, I think it's on Discovery Plus or something like that, but it's a paranormal show. And so yeah, he does a lot of the, just filming, and he puts episodes out and then just kind of on YouTube. And he catches some cool stuff. He catches a lot of audio stuff as well. You know, I don't know what the technical term is, but like voices and different
Like
words and
EVP,
kind of creepy stuff. I think that's what it's
EVP,
called.
electronic
And
voice
then like
phenomena. Yeah.
yeah, so he'll catch like and some pretty cool stuff like laughing, different words. Um, and then he'll catch stuff moving like objects every now and then. He catches a lot of orbs and yeah, stuff like that. But you want to know about my
Yeah,
paranormal
because
stuff?
every time Ron asks you about it, you kind of avoid the topic. So I was like, "Fuck, man, I want to hear about this."
Oh God,
Because I've had
my
my own experiences too, man. Like my very first episode that I did on my show, I talked about it with one of my best friends about what happened in my house, and then I got a shout out to Born Awake Oracle Vicky. I took pictures of that old house. I went by it, took pictures. I had a conversation with the people that are currently living there. Turns out they moved in there right after we moved out, and they
mm,
grew up there, and they've had their own experiences,
yeah,
and it kind of validated what I had, right? And Vicky, Born Awake Oracle, was telling me about what she could see in her spiritual mindset, who was actually doing the haunting in the house. And I was like I had goosebumps. I was like, oh my God. Because like that shit sticks with you forever,
oh
And
yeah,
I'm sure whatever happened to you in your house has stuck with you, right? So I've been wanting to hear what you've experienced.
David Witt. I'll need to get another beer or another seltzer.
Go for it.
Can you fill the space?
I can.
Do you edit in this show? Like, do you like
I
clip part?
I edit, but I can just talk and keep going. Just go get your shit.
All right, go get your shit. He says.
But yeah, as Buckley gets another beer or seltzer because he's gay. Yeah, most of you who have been listening to my show for a long time know that I've had my own experiences, and I was super curious to hear what he has to say about what's going on in his house. Maybe we could capture some footage right here in his background as he's away. Maybe his chair's going to move. If that happened, that'd be crazy. But yeah, that shit stuck with me for my entire life, and I can't shake it. There's no shaking it because the voices that I heard were completely legit. And yeah, Buckley, I was just telling my audience that I've heard voices a few times in my old house, and I still remember exactly what they said, exactly what they sounded like.
Were they like,
Uh,
you're gay?
no, it was that's why I'm gay.
They're
No,
like, fuck
um,
you.
no, but like every time it was a very deep, booming voice, and it was like really loud, but what's the word? Disembodied. Kind of
Yeah.
had like an echo to it, like a slight echo. So it sounded like it was ethereal, right?
Mm.
But yeah, so we're gonna get into your stories now,
Oh.
from the very beginning to the very end, and
Oh,
then
gee.
after that, we'll kind of close off the show.
Oh, geez. From the very beginning to the very end. Well, I had like when I
Are
was
you still in
younger,
the same house
as from I've
when
lived
you
in this
first
house for
started?
like probably 6 years or so. And
Okay, and you've had experiences ever since, right?
Well, no, I've had experiences since I was young,
Okay, okay.
like real little in different places. So one of the first ones I had was like in an old kind of Victorian house that we were house sitting, and I
Like you
guess
and your parents?
yeah, it was me and my brothers, and then my mom were house sitting this house for people that were on vacation.
And how old were you at the time?
Really little, I don't remember, but I was like really little,
Probably like
like
4.
still played with toys and stuff like that. Like
Well, I still play with toys, so that doesn't say shit.
like
There's just
kids,
different kinds of toys now,
yeah, like vibrators and stuff like that.
like pocket pussies and shit.
But so I didn't find out until afterwards or later that this place was actually haunted. But we had like I remember these toys that we were playing with. They were like robots, and they were like electronic. And the way that they made noise, it was like you lifted the arm up, and then they would shoot, or they would make like explosion or gun noises, basically.
Okay.
And so whenever one time, this is like the first thing I remember. One time when we were all asleep in this house, the toy was just going off like over and over in the middle of the
Hmm.
night, and it was out in the living room, and everyone was in bed. Um, so that was like one of the first experiences I had. I had another one once where,
You could chalk that up to like electronic malfunction,
right,
perhaps.
not that crazy, but it was just weird that after the fact we found out, or our mom told us that it was haunted. Essentially, like
Okay.
the owners had told her that the place was supposedly haunted. They had had a lot of weird stuff happen.
Okay.
So, yeah, so like that was nothing too crazy there. Another small one was this old barn playhouse theater, where they did a lot of summer stock theater, kind of off Broadway shows on a smaller scale, with professional actors. And again, didn't know this place was haunted, but uh, I went back there behind the stage when I was really young, and then no one was there, and I was just kind of walking around looking at the different stage props and things like that, the set design. And then all of a sudden, again, didn't know it was haunted. I just started to get like the goosebumps and like the raised hair feeling.
Sure.
And I started to feel like I gotta get out of here. Like so
That
I
means
felt
the ghost grabbed your ass and you liked it.
right. I just felt like this like overwhelming sensation of like get the fuck out of here, like get out of here, like something just wanted me out of there, to the point where I like booked it out of there like as fast as I could. Later my brother actually did a paranormal investigation there or whatever, and he caught one of the old pianos like in under the stage, playing music, which is kind of crazy.
Huh.
Uh, and he actually did that like year ago or last winter or something. I forget, but
By itself?
right, yeah,
God damn.
yeah. So, but there's
Was it
been a
like
lot.
anything? Was it like anything like professional sounding, or was it just like,
No, it was like three different. It was like three notes, or like a single note being played three times, or
oh,
something
okay.
like that. Um,
So the ghost was a shitty pianist. Okay.
yeah, not very good, like real
Yeah.
bad. Uh, and then and then when I was a little bit older, so I don't know, you've never been to New England, right?
No. A
No, I didn't think so. But so
lot of hauntings there apparently.
right. So obviously New England was like it's one of the oldest parts of the country, as far of America, as far as like settlement, right? Early settlement. So you get a lot of old houses and like old townhouses and churches and just stuff like that. And especially around New Hampshire, there's just like there's a lot of small towns that have like these really old like meeting houses, townhouses. Um, so again, my mom was doing a small community play because she did a lot of theater, or still does, I think. But she was doing this play in this old townhouse, sorry, old meeting house, in this town called Wilmot, New Hampshire. And supposedly that place was haunted too. Like, everyone talked about it, whatever. So they were doing rehearsal, and me and my two brothers, we went into this room. It was an adjacent room next to the theater house. And, because they told us, the people that like worked there or spent a lot of time there, that this place was where like a lot of the paranormal activities happened. And so what they said to do was go in this room and close. It was a very long room. They said go in the room, close the doors, both the doors, and then you have to say, "Come out, ghosts," and they'll come out, right?
Okay.
So me and my two brothers went in there. We closed the door closest to us, but we were too afraid to go across the room because it was a long ass room, and close the other door. And we were both like, we were all three of us. It was three of us. We were like, no, you tell him to come out. You tell him to come out. What? You tell him to come out. Kind of going back and forth.
I dare you.
Exactly. And then my oldest brother, he like in a very sarcastic, like just smart ass voice was like, oh, like come out, ghost. He said it like super kind of mockingly, and
Sure.
as soon I shit you not, as soon as he said it, the lights just went out,
Wow.
like dead out. It was dark. uh we all three of us started freaking out. We were like trying to find the handle to the door. Just like it was, because it was so dark, just trying to find it. We eventually found it. We opened the door, ran out, um and then we disrupted the whole rehearsal that was going on. Like they were in the middle, they had to stop, blah blah blah. And they're like, "What's going on? Like, what's wrong?" Like we told them what happened. Yeah,
Ghost.
literally, it was like Scooby Doo. Like it was bad, and like so they shut down the rehearsal for a bit, and then one of the actors went into the room, and there was a single pull chain light in the middle of the room, and he just went over to the light and pulled it, and the light just went back on.
Right.
So the only light in the room was that pull chain. So someone
That pull chain.
would have had to
There was
walk.
there was there was no switch for it or anything.
No, he would have
Yeah,
had
because
to.
even if he pulled it, it would probably go off even if there was a switch, right?
Right.
You know what I
Well,
mean? Like
yeah, I don't know.
say you have like a pull switch light and then
Right.
there's a switch also to turn it off. If you turned off the switch and you turned on the switch, it would go back on. But if you
Right.
pulled the switch or pulled the chain or whatever, it would go off. And if you put the switch back on, it would still be off.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
yeah. So that was definitely
I'm just trying to get technical and skeptical. That's all.
right. Yeah. So if you turn this light switch off, then when you pulled the chain, it would have went back on. Right. Is that what you're
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really weird. And that stuff had all happened to me at like an early age. And then the house we live in now, I've had a couple weird things happen to me. Um,
Yeah. You've been saying it on Wicked Planet, but you never really got into it too much.
I haven't,
I don't think so.
nothing
Unless
like,
I missed a couple episodes because I listen to you guys on the regular. So
right. So, so it's nothing like crazy, but like, again, I'm not someone that really goes and like seeks this stuff out. I've said that before.
sure,
Um,
you're not a ghost hunter like your brother.
right. I think I did one hunt with him at Ron's garage like a couple years ago,
Okay,
but this stuff all happened before any of that. And then, um,
that's why they call it the haunted garage, right?
right. And then
Where
the New
nobody
York,
knows this location
right. And then I
except for the
did,
customers.
yeah. And then I did another one with New York Patriot.
Yep. Shout out to Nick.
I think that was him. And then Andrew or Andy from the Deep Share podcast.
Okay.
Is it the New York Patriot? The guy he's really I've only met him that one time, but he's like super into like kind of like the occultist.
Secret societies because he used to be a member of the ORT or whatever.
I don't know, but he's like really into the occultist stuff.
Yeah,
Is that New York Patriot?
occult rejects. Yeah.
Is that New York Patriot?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, so I did another ghost hunt with them at the haunted garage. But so in this house that I live in now, I've had just some weird little things happen. Um, something falling off the wall that, like, you could equate it to uh just falling off the wall, but when you go back and look at it, and the only it's something that's connected on like a hook like this, a big
Yeah.
hook, and then it's
There's
just
no way it would. There's no way it would fall unless somebody lifted it up and dropped it.
or bumped it, but when there's no one else in the house, right? Like,
Sure.
and it just happens, you're kind of like, okay, that's a little weird. Um, I had another thing happen. So this is actually, which is strange because it's a pattern that I noticed. Um, we had, I was again home alone on the couch, lazy day, just watching some TV. I hear something like fall or hit the floor. I'm looking all around. And then when I get up, I sit up, my keys, which I left on the door, like the table by the door, had somehow ended up like several feet away from the table, which, you know, if they had just slipped off the side, right? They're not going to fall.
They're not going to slide all the way down.
Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
like, even if they did fall, they would be like probably right by the table. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Not several feet out. So that was really weird. And then another time, same thing on the couch. You can kind of see into a small piece of my kitchen where we have this bookshelf with like cookbooks and stuff. And this I did see. I saw one of the cookbooks just like flick, like jump off of the shelf. Like, yeah, it just kind of hopped. And then,
That's fucked.
yeah. And then so I went and,
Oh, it must have been like electrostatic or something with the paper and that kind of stuff, right?
right. So then when I go, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, because it's weird. If you've ever had stuff happen like that to you, you get super freaked out. And then so I like I went into the kitchen to see where the book had ended up. And again, it was like super far out into the kitchen, like not like it just fell. It like kind of was like thrown, like it was far away from the
Sure,
book.
yeah.
And I
What
was
are
just
your
kind
thoughts? Like, what were your thoughts at the time? Were you like, holy fuck?
honestly, when it happened, yeah, exactly. I get like pretty freaked out in the moment. And then
Sure.
I just try not to feed into it
Right,
because
right, right.
I know like a lot of the paranormal stuff, like it does feed off of your own energy.
Fear and attention. They love attention. I had a
Right.
friend who told me he was sitting in his living room and in the corner of his eye, he could see like these sparks going, like shooting out. And when he
Mm.
looked over, he could see a spark shoot out from nowhere, like no like electrical outlet or anything, just like a blue spark. And he's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "It." He told me that it feels like it's trying to get his attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, dude, I had a
Do you
weird
feel the same way? Like when that happens, it feels like it's trying to get your attention and trying to get you to fear it, so
yes,
that yeah, to give it
not
your energy, right?
not fear it. I don't think it like is trying to get whatever it is, or maybe if it's a being like a ghost or paranormal. I don't think it wants me to fear it. Knock on wood. I think it might be trying to get my attention though. Um,
There's other things they could do for your attention, though. It's like, just suck my dick. Like, come on, let's go.
dude, have you ever seen the movie MacGruber?
Yeah,
Where the scene the scene where he bangs the
dude,
ghost
that's
is
so
going,
fucking funny.
but but no, what was I saying? Um, that movie is pretty funny. Um, oh,
Fuck,
and
I'm
then
gonna come.
I'm gonna shoot, I'm gonna shoot, or the scene where he's like, He's like, point at something in the room. I'll fuck it. Like, point at something. I'll fuck. He's just like screaming that. Oh God. Um,
Anybody who's listening hasn't seen MacGruber yet, you're missing out.
yeah, pretty funny. The show is all right. I don't know if you ever saw the show.
I
Made like
know,
a
I didn't
mini.
know.
They made a mini series not that long ago. It was okay. It wasn't as good as the movie. But what was I saying? All right. So then I also, again, a day I came home from work. I was going up my stairs, and then, I heard a hey. And I was like, oh, hey, what's up? And I thought it was like the roommates or someone in the house. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, hey, what's going on? Like, what's up? No response. Like, hello? No response. And I look all around the house. No one's home. So my mind was just playing tricks on me, but you know, so I feel like for me to respond to something that isn't there must have meant that I heard something because,
Well, that's a natural way of thinking for sure.
right. But like, you typically, like, how often do you just,
You, you typically don't respond to a disembodied voice, you know? Oh,
right.
but I will tell you that if my dad is sitting in the other room and I fart, he'll say, "What's up?" I said, "No,
Oh,
I
no one
just
else was home.
farted." I said, "I just
Yeah.
farted." Yeah, but nobody else was home in your case, right? So,
Yeah. So I was like, hey, what's up? And then, hello, hello. No one's there.
oh, it looks like you dropped. It looks like Buck dropped, but let's see what happens. He might come back in. Let's see. Buckley, you still there?
Can you
Put
hear
your
me?
video. Yep, yep, you're good now. I can't see
My
you though.
my video is not working.
Ah, maybe you got loose connection. Maybe the ghost in your house doesn't want to see you anymore because you're so
Oh,
ugly.
there I am. Can you see me now?
There we go. Yep.
Call me ugly,
No, I was saying that maybe the ghost
motherfucker.
doesn't want to see you.
You think the ghost thinks I'm ugly?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know how a ghost thinks.
Dude, I bet the ghost thinks I'm hot.
It's probably why they're fucking with you so much.
Yeah, they're probably trying to get me to bang them. Uh, so was
So
oh,
where
so
were
then,
you?
so yeah, so that whole thing happened, and then I guess the last weird thing that happened to me in this house. I have one more really weird thing. Well, I have a couple that I could tell you. I don't know how
We
much
got
time.
time. We got time, man.
Okay, so um, and I know people like it's weird. The reason why I don't like talking, like I'll talk about this shit with you because I know that you're like, you're not just gonna think I'm crazy.
Sure. That's why I wanted to get this out of you because I'm super interested.
Right. So it's like, but like a lot of people, they just like when you tell them this shit, they're like, oh, you must just like, want attention or you're cuckoo or, whatever it is. Or
Obviously, yeah.
you're like making it up. And it's like, no,
It
no.
happened.
Um, and then another weird thing that happened to me in this house. Well, whenever we have balloons here, like the balloons act weird in this house. They'll like move around constantly, or sometimes we'll just see a balloon that's just like doing this, like in
Right.
circles, which is strange.
Like the helium balloons.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure. They float, so that means they gotta have helium in them,
They
right?
got helium in it, yeah.
Right, which wouldn't be too weird to see a balloon do that, but if it's like consistently doing it for a long period of time, it looks weird anyway.
It could be
Never
just losing helium.
right. It could be, but we had so we had a guy come up to look who did some work in our attic, and this was actually I wasn't here for this, but our house is kind of like it's like kind of zigzags. You go up the stairs, then you kind of have to wrap around and then go up the stairs again into the attic, and then the attic's a closed door. But a guy who was going to look at the attic to do some work or whatever, he had
Uh,
he had a balloon follow him like up into the attic, which is kind of weird. Um,
yeah, that's weird.
and he said, like, I believe he said it kind of took him off guard because when he went up there and then he like turned around and there was just like that balloon, which was downstairs, so the attic basically makes like sort of like a third floor. So it followed him up 3 flights of stairs, or up to the third floor, which is very strange. I also really weird. I one time had this like dream where I went up into the attic, and then it was weird. It was one of those vivid dreams where you like seems really real, but then you wake up.
Was it lucid, or like did you know you were dreaming, or was it just
It was like when I
feeling?
woke up, I knew it was a dream. In the moment,
Okay.
I didn't know, like, it just seemed like real because some dreams seem real. But I dreamt that I went up in the attic, and then like sometime later, I forget when, my girl went up in the attic, and then there was a balloon up in the attic that somehow,
No way,
yeah, that somehow ended up in there. So yeah, so it's just
dude.
some weird stuff like that that has
Yeah,
happened.
that's fucking weird for sure, dude.
Yeah, and just like, it's like I know dogs, my dog sometimes will just do this thing where it stares up the stairs. Like I'll be downstairs on the couch and the dog will be there and the dog will like be staring up the stairs and growling, and like no one else is home. It's never happened when anyone else is home, just me and the dog.
Must
And it
be a
just
homeless guy masturbating in your attic.
right, or ghost like, doing something weird, but I don't know, just shit like that.
That's
Um
that ghost up there that wants to fuck Buckley.
yeah. And
And the
then
dog's like, "Stay away from my man."
yeah. And I don't know if what do you think about like the kind of like the paranormal UFO crossover? Like, do you see a
Oh,
connection between the
the
two?
whole Vatican thing now. The whole Vatican, how the Vatican is saying, "Oh, we have guidelines for apparitions now," right?
Well, I know there's like the whole like, UFOs or possibly angels and demons, but also like
Uh-huh.
a lot of UFO sightings, or even like Bigfoot sightings or
Well,
whatever.
there's a lot to say about that because like there's the whole fact that space might be fake and gay too, right? So
Well, right, but like I don't know, do you think that like ghosts and UFOs are kind of on the same side? Or not the same side of things, but like kind of like I don't know. Like they're sort of similar, or they're on the same sort of trajectory of like.
well, it's the same kind of fringe thing, right? Like that everybody always thinks about UFOs and ghosts as like a fringe thing and not really a part of our reality,
Yeah.
right? So there's that. So what was your question again?
I don't know. I just know that sometimes when people say they saw UFOs, they also see orbs, and then orbs are also associated with like the paranormal ghost side of things.
Right,
Do you know
right.
what I mean?
I don't know if you listened to my last episode, but the guy had encounters with Bigfoot and ETs.
At the same time.
Not at the same time, different
Oh,
encounters. And
okay.
this guy's only like 22 years old. Shout out to Bell Art. But yeah, this guy, he's a rapper as well. His music's pretty good. I'm not a big hip hop guy, but his music's pretty good because he
Yeah.
speaks truth in it, right? He's like a conscious rapper. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's had experiences and he feels that he's on like a different kind of vibrational frequency where he can encounter these things. So I do believe that the whole vibrational frequency thing is attached to people encountering these things, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe you're on a different level than other people on society. That's why you're encountering these things. I don't know.
Yeah, but the thing is too is like I don't like I said before, I don't seek this stuff out. I don't try to like you know what I mean? I try to any sort of weird energy like that, I try to like stay clear of, which is even stranger to me because it definitely
As
keeps
much
happening.
as much as you want to believe it and encounter it, you don't want to at the same time because you want to stay in your relatively normal mainstay of reality, right? Or the reality that they locked us into, right?
Yeah.
I would actually wouldn't mind seeing shit like that. The shit that I see mainly since my childhood, aside from the voices that I heard, are all in my dreams, man. My dream state is so fucking wild. I
Oh yeah.
lucid dream. I astral travel. I astral traveled several times. That's why I wanted to get Kristen on because I know she's into the gateway tapes and shit.
Yeah.
I was supposed to have her on a while ago, and then I told Ron, I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to get Kristen on." She's like, "Oh yeah, she was super pissed about that you stood her up." I'm like, I had shit going on, right?
You stood her up, dude.
Dude.
Oh.
And my bad, because she's a beautiful fucking woman, but I'm sure I would disappoint her in real life too, so it doesn't matter.
No, with that beard. Come on now. That
I
beard,
know, right?
you gotta slay with that beard, right?
You would think.
You just wrap the ladies up in the beard and then the job's done right there.
I have a girl that I'm talking to who's also a content creator right now, and
Like
we were
an
talking.
influencer?
No, she's into ASMR. Shout out to
Oh yeah.
Sweatpants Steph. But whenever she talks to me, she's like climbs out of beard, and then she'll start talking to me.
No.
He lives in my beard.
Nice, nice, nice. Uh what the fuck were we talking about?
Ghosts and shit and
Oh,
UFOs. Oh yeah, you asked me a question about like I tried to the best of my ability to answer your question about how I feel about ghosts and UFOs and how it's on the same kind of wave.
yeah. So, yeah, so a couple more things. I just recently heard about like have you ever heard about the balls of like fire or electricity that appear in people's houses?
They're in my pants currently.
Have you ever heard about that shit? I just heard about this recently. I don't remember
Balls
what.
of fire? No, I don't think I've heard of that.
Or like electricity. And so I had this. So it's one time I came home from work, and that wasn't in this house. It was like before I lived in this house, I lived in like yeah, it was another old house, but it was made into apartment buildings. So there's like
Okay.
a bunch of different people living in there. And pouring rain. I came home from work. I was talking to a friend on the phone, and I was sitting in my living room, and my window looked out into like this alleyway between two houses, and it was just dumping rain. And then all of a fucking sudden, a huge lightning bolt, like fire from the fucking sky, shoots down like into the alleyway, and I see it out my window. It strikes the apartment building, and it's just fucking shaking. Like one of the loudest, scariest things I have ever.
So it wasn't like a thunderbolt or but
It
it was like
was
a
it was a
blast.
light it was a lightning bolt as far as I know, right? That outside my window, like shoots down fire, like fiery bolt hits the apartment's shaking. Um,
Holy shit.
Yeah, this is one of the most like even it was scarier than any of the paranormal shit that's ever happened to me.
Right,
Uh,
right.
it strikes the apartment, the whole building is shaking. Was talking on the phone. I threw my phone. My phone was plugged in right when this happened, so I had like a weird tingling that went down my hand into my elbow.
Oh shit.
Right, and then I was like about to have a fucking like nervous breakdown or like panic attack because I was like kind of like freaking out a little bit.
Did you felt the electricity go through your body?
I felt it go from like my hand where I was holding the phone down to my
Yeah.
elbow, and then it kind of
So you
like
got like miniature electrocuted,
yeah, I
kind of.
guess. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
yeah, and then but also at this when I said the fireball because there was a Now this happened inside of my apartment, like immediately after the lightning strike. Uh, like it was our, I think it was our internet router that was like plugged into the wall, shot off the wall in this ball of like electric fire, fucking shot out into the middle of my living room from the wall. The router flew across the fucking room, uh, and this ball of like fire electricity shot out into the middle of the room and like popped, and it had like a trail from the outlet of where it came out and just popped. So that was immediately after the the lightning bolt hit the fucking apartment.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and so I don't know, like, if that was just a fucking storm, like lightning, or like if there's something else attached to that, or like what the fuck. But I've never had like something that crazy happen to me before, and that was scarier than any of the paranormal shit.
And that
Um,
was how long ago?
that was probably when I was like 23 or
And you're
24,
what? You're what now?
30. I just turned 34, so that
Okay.
was like probably close to probably actually a little, probably like 8 years ago or something. But it was super fucking weird. And like my friend, I like ran to the fridge and grabbed a beer because I was so shaken up, and just like started drinking it just to like anything to take the edge off because I was like kind of freaking out.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
picked up the phone. My friend was still on the phone, and he was like freaking out because he was like, dude, like he was like yelling, like, dude, like yelling my name and shit. He thought I got into a car wreck or something because he didn't know what had happened because he heard the noise, like all the commotion and shit, and me like yell, fucking huck my phone. Um, yeah, and that was crazy. And then uh,
I
I
feel
had
like I feel like you're in the Goonies right now, and I said to Chunk, tell me from the beginning. From the very
Dude,
beginning. Okay.
I'm telling you everything that
In
like
the third
is
grade. I did this.
it's so I'm trying to tell you everything that weird that's happened to me
Oh,
that
it's cool, man.
might be connected to paranormal shit.
Yeah.
Because there, okay, I got two more things. Then we could
Okay.
we'll wrap this bit up.
Sounds good, man.
Um so this was actually, we were camping in Maine on some cliffs, and my girl, my
Of
daughter,
course, it
and
has to be Maine,
right, yeah, and
the hub of the paranormal activity where Stephen King writes about. Okay, so
well,
we're in Maine.
I don't know if this is paranormal or if it's UFO, because
Okay,
we were sitting, our campsite was on these cliffs overlooking the ocean, and I was there with my girl, my daughter, and then the grandmother was there, and we were all just sitting, kind of having a fire, kind of looking out over the water. It was a little foggy, and then out, so it's just ocean, like cliff and ocean, right in front of us, basically.
right.
And we're all just sitting there, and then out of like kind of the misty fog, like over the ocean, way out over the ocean, this, it's like a small light, right, that just grows and grows and illuminates into a giant like orb, and all three of us saw it, and we were all just like,
It wasn't the sun.
no, 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 no.
It was at nighttime, or
It was like evening.
okay,
It was like, and the sun, like where we were, the sun doesn't, it sets like the other direction, because we were looking like, I think we were looking south. Um, but it definitely was on the sun, because it looked like a small light that grew into a big orb, and everyone saw it, and they're like, what the fuck is that? And I literally was like, it's a UFO.
right, right.
And everyone else was just kind of like, what? And then it just slowly shrunk, and then until it disappeared, and then it was gone. And I actually, I
Was it like in your foreground view and then shrunk, or did it like dissipate into the back by the horizon?
no, like it shrunk.
Okay.
So it was like, so think of like a small light, right, that got brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, and it turned into a big orb. And it hung there for a couple of seconds, like 15 seconds or
And
something,
then shrunk back down
and
to
then did
nothing.
the opposite. and like went into a small light and then just until it disappeared. Not like it like
Fuck.
not until it like not like it moved out, outward over
Right,
the,
right.
into the flat earth or whatever you want to call it. Uh but so that was a weird thing, and I guess I left the next day and they said it happened again the next night, the same thing.
Really?
Yeah, when I wasn't there. So I was like, okay. Yeah.
And that was in Maine, Vermont.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maine, no, Maine, just Maine. You
Oh,
said
Maine.
Vermont.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Vermont's a different state. Maine's like a, coastal.
Maine
The
is a state.
Maine's a, yeah, that's the, so New England is, Maine, which is kind of like the northern part of New England and like kind of shoots out into Canada.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But, it's the furthest northern state, on the East Coast. And then,
It's goes up to New Brunswick, right?
yeah, and then there's like Vermont, New Hampshire underneath, then Massachusetts, and then Connecticut, Rhode Island. But no one really cares about those states.
For all
Uh,
the geographically retarded people, we're trying to get our shit straight. But yeah,
yeah, go look at a map, people.
there
Don't
we
take
go.
it from me. We're
Google
miles away.
Earth.
Google Earth. And then the last thing, I guess, to wrap this up, this was the weirdest ghost thing, that paranormal thing that happened to me. Um, and I don't know, do you have anything you want to say or add? Are you good?
No, I'm the host, so you go ahead.
Oh fuck! I thought you had all these questions prepared for me.
No, 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 no. Well, I did,
Like
but
if
the
I was
conversation was going
gay,
so
like if
well.
I was gay, how big Ron's dick is, uh, how many Sasquatches has Ron banged?
That was just something to fall back on, but the conversation was going so well that we didn't have to do that.
All right, I got you.
We love you, Ron.
So, so this, my my girl had planned this trip to visit her college friends who live in Massachusetts, which is a state of New England. Um, and whatever, we were just, the plan was to have some drinks, go out on the boat, come back, do some cooking or something like that. Um, and it was an older house that was restored. Like I think it was an 1800s kind of house that was remodeled into like a, nicer looking house. So it didn't look so old. And so we get there, whatever. I've had a couple of drinks. Throughout the day, the one of the younger girls who's there, like she's 4 years old, she is repeatedly up in the attic. And it's like kind of like a weird house where even when you're upstairs, you can kind of hear if people are like talking loudly, right? You can hear it on the first floor just for
Right.
whatever reason, just how it's built or whatever. So we can hear her up there like a couple times throughout the day, like going up there and like she's playing and like she's talking to somebody, right? To the point where the parents are like, hey, like so and so, like come down here, blah blah blah. But then she would eventually, so she would come down, but then eventually she would like go back up and then kind of repeat and fucking be
She kept
playing up.
going up there. Yeah.
Right, she would go up there and play in the attic, and then was fucking talking like she was talking to somebody, yada yada yada. So eventually, most of the people go outside on the deck. I'm standing on the first floor. It's an open kind of styled room, living room to kitchen. I'm drinking a beer, watching something on that they put on YouTube. The dad of the girl is in the kitchen doing dishes, like just cleaning and shit like that. Where a man should be. And so I hear the girl, she goes up in the attic and she's up there and she's talking to something or playing and like, but it's not like she's just talking. She's like having a conversation almost. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like a back and forth. So eventually I hear like footsteps because my back is turned towards the staircase. So I hear footsteps like coming from the attic, down, and I hear them coming down the stairs. I I catch something out of the corner of my eye to the right, and it kind of cuts across the back to my left to the point where I turn and I don't really see anything. And then the girl comes down the stairs after and does the same movement pattern, cuts behind me, jumps onto the couch, runs across the couch, and at this point I'm looking at something else, and it had come across the couch in the opposite direction, back the way that it had came.
Hmm.
So I turned to actually where I could.
She's still on the couch.
Right, at this point, she jumped on the couch,
Right.
and so I turned the opposite way where I can actually see something, and I see this wispy, it's like a black shadowy mass that kinda comes across from my right and weaves around like a support beam around the kitchen island and then cuts around the corner to this other bathroom. And then the girl who is now getting off the couch gets off the couch and like runs in the same exact pat like formation that the thing, whatever it was, went. And then she goes to the corner and stops and like grabs on the corner and like looks around the corner, and she's like holding on the wall. And then she's like confused. I'm just like, I'm just watching, like, like, what the fuck? I'm just watching this whole thing. And then she starts she starts looking around the house, like everywhere. She starts opening cabinet doors.
It's like they were playing hide and seek.
Yeah, she starts opening cabinet doors and like drawers and like checking all around the house and like looking outside the windows. And I'm just watching her. And she starts making like, because she's opening all these cabinet doors and stuff, she's making so much noise that the dad eventually is like, so and so, like, cut it out. What are you doing? What, like, go back to playing. And I was just like, I didn't even really know what to do.
Right.
I was just like kind of staying there. And then,
You didn't say anything,
well,
even though you saw shit in the corner of your eye. Right.
no, I saw it eventually, because eventually the first time I saw something came down the stairs, I saw it out of the corner of my eye. It went across
Right.
behind me onto the couch, but then doubled back. And that when it doubled back, I turned and I saw like some smoky mass black thing that
Fuck.
kind of weaved around and then went around the corner. And then the girl followed, like, came out, who came down the stairs, jumped on the couch, followed the same pattern, stopped at the corner, peeked around, and then started to look around the entire like floor, lower first floor of the house, opening drawers, like cabinets, checking around different corners. And I was like, I didn't know what the hell to do. I was kind of like, I was freaked out. Obviously, the young girl was fine. The dad was a little confused why she was like running around the house. And my daughter was super young at the time, so my gal came inside from the outside to like breastfeed her. And I was just kind of like, I was like, hey, like like don't think I'm crazy, but like don't tell anyone, but this is what I just saw this like
Right.
just happened. And she was just like, "What?" And then obviously, when everybody comes inside, she's like, "Hey, guess what Tristan saw? Blah 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 blah." And like,
Oh my god.
so
Leave
now,
it to a woman. Right.
so I guess now I'm just the guy who saw a ghost. But that was one of the weirder paranormal things that ever happened to me.
That's some freaky
They
shit, dude.
they eventually sold the house. I don't know if anything else happened. They said it wasn't because of that, but you never know. You know.
Yeah, like do you think it was like maybe you saw a ghost, or maybe you were tapped into the her psychic abilities where she had an imaginary friend? Can you
Yeah.
tap into that?
Well, I do know from my, because I talked to my brother about this before. And I've told, because obviously if I'm gonna tell anyone, I'm gonna tell him, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and he like literally was like, "Yeah, that's a pretty common like paranormal sighting." Like
Okay.
obviously, no, not paranormal sightings. None of them are really common, but like he said that that's like a the description I gave was like one that is given a lot, like that kind of black, like mass, shadowy mass. Um,
Sure.
yeah, and I don't know if I don't think it was anything demonic, but you never know.
It
I don't know.
sounded playful to me, like the ghost was just playing with her. And what are your thoughts on that? Like when kids have like imaginary friends, do you think they're ghosts or just like something mustered up in their imagination that becomes real to them? Are they manifesting stuff like that, or are they actually uh energies that they're tapping into?
You know, it's so weird. I don't know if I don't know. I mean, what are ghosts like?
Yeah, that's I was gonna ask you that too. Like, what do you think ghosts are? Like, like energies that have been left behind in the past, or just
I think
stuff
it
that
could
is
be.
mustered up in our own imaginations.
I think it could be residual energy, maybe like
That's the word I was
because
looking for, residual. Yeah.
well, because it's like where does energy go, right? Energy does the energy ever actually disappear?
It can't be destroyed, right?
Right. So it's like if energy.
Which is why we are eternal beings, so to speak. We're just like eternal energy in a meat bag, right?
Right, and, like,
So
energy can be connected to physical objects too, like or what we think is physical objects, and depending what you think about, like, the nature of reality and, like, are we all light? Are we all electricity? Are we all scalar light? Do you know what I mean?
right,
Is there any difference between, biological beings and, like, object beings? Maybe
sure.
there is, maybe there's not. But I do
Everything
think
has a vibration though, right? Which means it's
well,
all energy.
right. So it's been said, right? Um, but so I do think that like people's energy could in fact get caught in like a house for sure. I mean, especially because like, if you look at any weird sort of energy device, right? Lots of times there's a lot of like geometry and symmetry to devices that create energy, right?
Right.
And like you look at a structure of like a house, or if you do carpentry, which I've been doing lately, a lot of the structure of houses are like they're symmetrical. They have like geometry. They're pretty square, lots of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you never know, you
Kind of
know,
traps us into this kind of reality that we're into within the square walls, the triangular walls, all that stuff. We're kind of trapped in, like I said, like the masters of reality, going back earlier into the episode, they trap us in somehow, right? So
right.
maybe like the fact that we can't, certain people can't escape or know that we are trapped in. uh if they don't know that, then they're going to probably still be stuck in here when they pass from this meat bag.
Right. Especially like, yeah. And especially if
I'm
they have
getting
like
another beer. I'll be right back.
all right, and yeah, but
Keep
especially
talking.
if they have like a strong connection to like a place. You never know if the energy just gets trapped in there. Or I mean, it's a little cliche, but dimensionally, it could just be other beings bleeding over or people from another dimension kind of coming in, and maybe they actually are real people, or we are in fact the ghosts in someone else's reality. Just stuff like that. Um,
That's another thing too. Maybe we are the aliens. Maybe we are the ghosts.
Right.
Who
It's definitely
knows?
it's definitely super interesting, but I think, like, there's obviously haunted, uh like, there's haunted woods and, like, there's haunted areas outside, but a lot I mean, most of the hauntings and stuff are, like, in houses. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Or, like, architecturally, like, ar archi places of architecture, which has a lot of these, like, symmetrical structures or geometric structures to them, and it's like
Which makes me go back to what I said earlier about how like we feel like home is like where we're supposed to be, right?
right.
But then I've heard this comedian say like, "Oh, I go into a home and I see a picture of like mountains, right?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's nice." And then I go around the corner and I see a plant there, and I'm like, "Oh, that's nice too." I kind
Right.
of think I should be living outside,
Right. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Right. So, I mean, but even, like, I don't know, even, like
Because everything in nature people are bringing to their home, and it's like maybe we should just be living outside.
yeah,
And you connect to nature a lot. You do mountain climbing and stuff like that. I see your
yeah.
photo. You try to connect to nature as much as you can, and that's a very important thing I think because people have been so disconnected with that shit. You know?
Yeah, well, I'm
Do
lucky
you
at
do you do you feel like you're more of a better like a better vibrant person for connecting to nature, like as you do or
I don't wanna say better, but, like, I do think, the way that society has developed into being, like, very we're you could it would be so easy to be a very sedentary human with a very
sure,
sedentary lifestyle if you wanted to be. Like, you think about it, you could have a desk job, you could work that job, then you could get in your car, drive home half hour, and then you get home, and then you fucking play video games or watch TV,
sure,
right?
sure.
Um, and that is super unhealthy, obviously.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
you can develop
I'm guilty of it. Yeah.
I mean, we all are. Hey, I like to veg out as much as anyone. I play video games too, but I also it's like a balancing act.
Yeah.
If you're gonna play, like, make video games and TV your last priority, and then make the getting outside, the exercise, the working on personal goals, trying to focus on your job and do a good job there. Make
Make it
those
kind of like a little bit of a reward system.
right, yeah, and make it kind
Yeah.
of like do all the shit you have to do, or that you're trying to, or your extracurricular goals, and then fucking and exercise, and try to make as good at healthy eating choices as possible, and then
And
once
then jerk off.
I don't know about that, maybe the jury's not quite out on that one, but then like play, like, an hour of video games or half hour or
Sure,
whatever.
sure.
But I think that being out in nature is super it's really good for you, just
It's very
mentally.
rewarding. Very rewarding.
Very rewarding. It's a detox from society. Uh,
Hmm.
it's a detox from your phone, somewhat.
Except
But
for the look at me where I am. Click, click.
right, exactly. And but even doing that though, you're not just you're not hiking and doom scrolling. You know what I mean?
Right, for sure. Yeah.
Like, you're hiking, and you're focusing on hiking, and you're focusing on your thoughts, and then you're interacting with people that you are hiking with. So it is a detox in that sense, but also too, it's like, you know, people nowadays are fucking they're soft,
Yeah.
they're pussies, most of them. Um, Hiking, it's not the craziest thing you could do, but
I love
it's
hiking,
it's a strenuous activity
but it's
that
super
puts you
like it puts you in a different position than when you would just come home from work and be like, okay, I'm just gonna sit at home and masturbate and drink and play video games. Like
right.
it's much better for you for sure.
Yeah, but it's all, I mean, it can be, I don't know, if you hike, right? What do you go on long hikes? Do you go on
Yeah,
short
for
hikes?
sure. Yeah.
Like I've done, I mean, I've hiked for miles and it can be dangerous. Especially I've done a lot of winter hiking. It can be dangerous. Like you're not
That's part of the reward though. Like you did
right.
something fucking outside of your 9 to 5 and you're like, holy shit, man, maybe I'm not gonna get back. But then you find your way back and like, okay, I did something really fucking cool, you know?
Right, but it also humbles your ass because it's like,
For
oh shit,
sure.
like I could
Nature can fucking kick your fucking ass.
right. It's like I could easily die if I slipped off this ledge, or if I was an idiot and like wasn't, didn't prepare properly, which I've hiked with people like that before, I could freeze to death. So it like kind of getting out into these elements of like nature, it humbles you. It makes you kind of realize that you're like, dude, you're not shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And nature doesn't ultimately give a fuck about you either. That's the
yeah.
other thing too. So it's
It
like,
just
oh,
is what it is. It just is what it is. It's there always, all the time.
yeah, but it's so vast too, and it's so large, and it's like it doesn't give a shit about you, honestly, really. Like if you fucking fall and break your leg,
Too
you're just
bad, so sad. Good luck
right. You're
getting
just gonna
home.
die in nature. So it like
Yeah,
kind of it takes you back a step. It makes you kind of realize that like, oh, like all this other shit that is going on in life, maybe it's really not all that important in like the grand scheme of things. Cause like what is actually life outside of society that we see, the created matrix society, like
mhm.
is nature. Well, what's nature? It's like it's fucking and it's death and it's like, it's like eating, it's like survival. And so I think like if you put yourself in those elements and doing hard shit in those elements, or just doing hard shit in general, honestly, it's gonna better you overall. Like
Absolutely. Yeah,
the sedentary
because
lifestyle, I know it's
we
easy.
we are part of nature and we should be in it in order to find out what like how it affects us. But we're so fucking locked into this bullshit system
Right.
that and this system will fucking kill you too, but nature will kill you way easier, you know?
Right. Well, it's just it's good to just yeah, nature will kill you, but it's good to fucking like you have to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Like
And
all
know
like
that you're a part of nature, right?
yeah, but it's like it's just good. It's like you have to kind of do things that are gonna like make you uncomfortable, and you got to do things that are going to challenge you, and you got to do things that are going to push you to grow. And like if you get too comfortable, which we all fucking do, right? It's so easy to be comfortable nowadays that it's like you're going to I feel like you're going to easily develop a sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I've been at fault for that. And what do? You gain weight, then you get health issues, and then you feel like shit all the time. And then if you're not challenging yourself, right? Or you're not working towards these like kind of putting yourself in hard places. Um,
Sure.
yeah. So I don't
Even
know.
even even for myself, doing my podcast is going out of my way to do something that most people don't do, right?
Yeah, it's a personal
And
goal you're working on, right? It's like
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
People look at me and they ask me all the time, like, where do you find the time to do like 154 episodes or whatever? I'm like, I just figured out a way to kind of do something else that isn't so stale for me, aside from the 9 to 5, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I still love my job. And I love my job even more so for the fact that I'm doing my fucking podcast
right.
because I know that like I'm doing something a little bit more productive than just working for a corporation, right? So Buckley, thank you so much for coming on, man. I could probably fucking talk to you for like 8 more hours, but we'll wrap it up here, man.
We gotta go to bed,
Give me
right?
yeah, give me any links you want me to throw out to the crowd, and I'll put it in the show notes.
I don't got any links.
Yeah, you do. You got the Wicked Planet.
Oh yeah. I mean you can listen to me there, but I've been on a little hiatus, taking a little break. I got a lot going on right now, so I'm kind of maybe
Well,
putting off.
you got to
Maybe,
find it within you to kind of step up your game and get back into it, you know? Because, dude, I've had like hiatuses with my podcast too. So I'm like, fuck. Sometimes I get down on myself. I'm like, nobody's listening to this shit. Why do I bother? You know?
I'm
But I
not down
still
on
do it.
myself. I'm not down on myself. I'm just
You just
kind of
got
like
shit going on. Yeah.
I got a lot of shit going on, and I'm trying to heal my back. I've had some back issues for a while, which are getting better, but just stuff like that. Personal health goals, trying to lose weight, trying to finish some other goals I got going on. So it's all good and fun, but I don't know. You can listen to me on the Wicked Planet most of the time. Follow me on Instagram on Tristan.a.buckley. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Davey Wavy, you fucking sexy animal with your huge ass beard and your fucking I don't know, whatever.
I
It's
got a
good
big
talking
cock
to you.
too.
Good talking to you.
You too, man. Shout out to Ron, Kristen, Anonymous Sean. I love you guys. I remember when you got on, we were having like I think we were on Monday Night Masturbators one time, and I said, "Oh, Tristan's here. I love Tristan." You're like, "You love me?"
uh,
Yeah, dude. Like I have a lot of love for like everything and everybody, and yeah, man. I hope you gain success in other things than your 9 to 5, man. And that's what this is all about. We're making a new fucking reality here, and I'm still fucking confident that we're gonna do that. So it's
yeah,
been a fucking honor and a pleasure to have you on. I knew it was gonna be awesome. And folks, listen to Tristan Buckley as the co-host of the Wicked Planet podcast with Ron from New England and Anonymous Sean and Kristen. Thanks,
hell yeah.
Buckley.
Thank you.
Love you, man. Peace out.
I see it.
You don't have to say I love you too. It's all good.
Gotta go.